Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our viewers, and welcome to Wednesday's episode of Ask Eman, where we're going to be here over the next hour as usual to answer your questions regarding your life as a Muslim. So brothers and sisters, to get in contact, dial 0203 515 0769. Alternatively, you can also send your questions via WhatsApp, Facebook or email. So without further ado, I'll be your host for today, and joining us is Shaykh Wasim Kempson. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Assalamu wa rahmatullah.
How are you today?
Very well, jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. So as we start every show, Shaykh, could I ask you for a short reminder, and then we can get into some questions from our viewers, inshallah.
Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. All praise belongs to Allah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to brothers and sisters and the viewers at home. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts all of our deeds and He allows us to continue worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing I want to mention is, and it stares us in the face, is that we are obviously in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And yesterday was the first odd night, 21st. Today being the 21st, and tonight will be the 22nd. So just as we were talking about it, subhanAllah, it's just like whenever we're talking about a special season, Islamic season, just as we're talking about it, starting, we're talking about it, it's already started, and then we're in the middle, and then it's over. And this is no different, really. We're in the last 10 nights of Ramadan now, and we know that the Prophet ﷺ would search for Laylatul Qadr, and similarly we should do the same, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as we can, offering different types of ibadah, focusing on qiyam, standing in prayer, focusing on recitation and dua, and charity as well. So we should focus on these nights, and don't be from those people who are just want to pop out on the 27th night thinking that's going to be Laylatul Qadr, because that may not be the case. We know that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, as well as those who came after them with righteousness, did not do that, but rather they strived, following the guidance of Rasulullah ﷺ in spending and in the whole of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to meet the Laylatul Qadr, and Allah Jalla wa Ala is pleased with us, and we receive that beautiful reward which is better than 1,000 months. Ameen.
Ameen. Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is from WhatsApp. The question is, Assalamu alaikum. If one is standing in Fard or Sunnah prayers and the doorbell rings, what should one do at that point? Jazakallah khair.
So if it's, whether it's a doorbell or something else, you shouldn't stop your Fard prayer for anything unless it's a very, very serious issue. So you should continue finishing your prayer. The Sunnah prayer is not at the level of the obligatory prayer. If there's a need which you think you might miss out something, or something more obligatory comes in the way, at the same time of you offering your nafilah, then you can stop that nafilah and attend to that particular issue. But the fard prayer really should not be broken unless it is a really, really very serious issue, which maybe you fear you will lose wealth, or some fear to life, or something like this. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is, what does one do if they forget to give sajdatus sahu?
So forgetting sajdatus sahu has two scenarios. The first scenario is that you forget it and you're still in the masjid. It's a short while after the salah. If that being the case, then you can still make sujood sahu, the two prostrations of forgetfulness, in the place that you are while you're still in the masjid. If, however, a good while passes, maybe like a couple of hours, and you realize, then the time for that really has gone. There's difference of opinion on the issue, of course. Some of the ulama still say it's still upon you. But because sujood sahu is something which is attached to the prayer, and if a long time has passed, then the time has passed, there's nothing upon you, wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. With that, we're going to go to our next caller of the show. So, assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, welcome, Rahmatullah. I'm calling from Surrey.
Welcome to the show, sister. What's your question for us today?
Jazakallah. I just had a question, actually, for another sister who was asking. Regards to fidya, she said, are you allowed to give fidya to your siblings if they're poor? They're from Bangladesh, basically. So
Okay.
she wants to know, is it allowed? And also, is it the same ruling when it comes to the zakah? That sort of, yeah. So zakah and fidya, basically, is the main question.
What's the fidya for, if you don't
The Shaykh is asking you, sister, what's the fidya for?
I think they missed fasting, so they're going to pay for that, something like that.
Okay, Shaykh. Thank you, sister. Do you have any more questions for us today?
No, that's all. Jazakallah khair.
All right, Jazakallah khair for your call. For the rest of our viewers at home, if you have any questions, as the sister just did, you're able to pick up the phone and call 0203 515 0769. Also, for everyone watching along on Facebook, you can leave your questions in the comment section and we can get those put forward to the Shaykh as well, inshallah. So, Shaykh, the sister asked, are you allowed to give your fidya to siblings who are in poverty back home? And also, does the same ruling apply when it comes to zakat?
طيب. There's two things I want to mention, inshallah ta'ala. The first issue is the ruling concerning it. So if a person has a fidya to pay and they are allowed to pay that to any person who is poor, who comes under that category, whether they are qareeb or someone is a relative or not. Okay. Also, with regards to zakah, it is allowed to pay your zakah to people whom you are not directly responsible for financially. So if you had, like as I mentioned, brothers and sisters who are in this situation and there's nobody else to help, then you can do that. The second issue, what I want to mention, is not directly attached to what the sister is asked, but it is because I've been asked many times whether I can give my zakah to my siblings. So my question is that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and all our situations are different, that why am I waiting for the little, or the zakat I'm going to give to my own blood brother and sister? Why they are in this state and that I have to give them zakah? That why I'm waiting for zakah, or why am I waiting for the time for when my zakah is due to give zakah to them? Should I not be giving them sadaqah? Should I not be giving them financial support so that they are not in this position in the first place? If they are my relatives, my brother, my sister, or my uncle or my aunt or somebody like this, if they're in a desperate situation, i.e. that they don't have the means to get by on a daily basis, why? Not necessarily why, because the whys are, 1,000,001 why they're in that situation. But the question is that why I'm thinking about giving my zakah to them? Why is it not the case I should be financially supporting them, so that inshallah ta'ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can, by Allah's will, that they are not in that situation, so they're not in a situation where they're desperate for zakah. I hope my point is clear.
Understood. No,
Yeah?
very clear, Shaykh. Yes.
So I think, as I meant, and I'll reiterate it, but it's not directed because of what the sister asked. I've given the ruling on that, it's permissible for you, but as a general issue, that for those of us who have savings, and there is going to be zakat on that, then I would say that sadaqah should be given to those relatives who are closest to us, so that they are not in that desperate situation. If then after all of that, they're still in that situation, as I mentioned before, it is permissible, wallahu a'lam, to give them the zakat.
All right, thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is from our WhatsApp, and the question is, if I bleed from a scab whilst I have wudu, does that mean it's broken? I.e. my wudu is broken?
Yeah, sure. No, your wudu is valid, alhamdulillah. It doesn't affect the validity of your wudu.
Alhamdulillah. Our next question is it true if you take a shower, it counts as wudu?
No, not necessarily, because it depends on your intention, it depends how you perform it. A person may have a shower just to cool themselves down, or freshen themselves, or clean themselves. So it really depends. If a person is in a state of major impurity, where they're required to perform ghusl, okay, and they have a shower, and then they have the intention to include wudu in that, even though they may not do the actions itself, but because it is a requirement of them to perform the ghusl suffices their purity. If, however, they're in a minor state, i.e. that they don't have to have ghusl, they would have to do the actions of wudu. So if they're in the shower, they would need to perform the actions of wudu, okay, and then they will be in a state of purity for salah, wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is, how accurate is the Quran translation books? It says kitabs. I don't know if that makes a difference. Yeah.
Okay, so like anything, I mean, the Quran is miraculous in many ways, and one of those ways is the language itself. and it is impossible to replicate it in any other language. The Quran is in Arabic, and whenever it is put into another language, there will always be some deficiency, and it will always be reliant on the translator choosing certain words. And these words Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say. Okay, so essentially translation is almost, you can say, a translation. It's like, it becomes like a tafsir. It becomes like an explanation of the meanings of the Quran. Whenever you put that into another language, there's no perfect translation, but you can rely on maybe 2 or 3 translations, which will allow you to come pretty close to to understanding the intended meaning behind the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's not one that you can probably say this is all you need, but there's probably a couple, maybe 3 that you could depend on, which are sufficient for you. I'm talking about the English language now.
Thank you, Shaykh. With that, we'll go to our next caller of the show. So, assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Alaikum salam. Calling from London. I have 3 questions for the Shaykh. The first one is probably quite common, but I've read a few different opinions, and I just wanted to know whether it's permitted for a woman to recite the Quran while she's menstruating, like from an app or something. And if not, then how can she reap the benefits of like the Quran and stuff especially during the month of Ramadan?
All right then.
My second question is, for a woman who is menstruating, what is the best way they can kind of, benefit in Ramadan and make the most out of, especially the last 10 nights? And my last question is, regarding Laylatul Qadr, the time for it, does it start straight after Maghrib until Fajr time, or is it in the last third of the night?
All right then. Jazakallah khair for your questions. Just to clarify your second question, sister, was it how can a woman make the most out of the last 10 nights of Ramadan?
Yeah, if she's menstruating.
All right then. Okay, understood. Thank you so much for your call. Stay tuned. We'll get those answered in just a second, inshallah. Wa iyyakum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll go to our next caller now. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Manchester. My name is Lami.
Welcome to the show, sister. What's your question for us today?
Yeah, my question is, I go to the masjid to pray Isha and Taraweeh. So, and then after I come back home, I pray Tahajjud. So I want to know, do I need to finish praying in the Shafi'i and Utri in the masjid, or do I need to leave the Shafi'i and Utri after I finish praying my Tahajjud at home, then I can pray?
Understood.
Because I am kind of confused, because someone told me that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever pray and complete the prayers with the Imam, his sins will be forgiven. So I'm kind of confused. I don't know what to do.
Understood. Do you have any more questions for us today?
No, that is all.
All right, then stay tuned and inshallah we'll get that answered for you in just 8 minutes, inshallah. Okay, so we'll get on with our questions, Sheikh. Our first question from the sister was, is it permitted for a woman to recite from the Quran whilst on her menses or from something such as an app during the month of Ramadan?
Okay, there are 2 issues here. There's not one issue, there's 2 issues. The first issue, is it allowed for a woman who's on a monthly cycle to recite the Quran? There's khilaf, is difference of opinion amongst the scholars. However, Allahu A'lam, there's no clear evidence to say that she cannot. So we say, inshallah ta'ala, it is allowed for a woman to recite the Quran while she's on her monthly cycle. The application is another issue. Does that take the ruling of a mushaf? No, it doesn't. So she can recite from the application which is on her device. However, concerning the mushaf itself, and as the Arabic text only, not with something which has got a translation in it, but the mushaf only, she should not touch it directly. She can recite from it if she wants to wear gloves, or she puts the Quran on a stand and turns the pages with a pen or something like this. She can do that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Sheikh. Before we move on, we're going to take our next call, inshallah, Sheikh. Is that okay?
You're the boss.
No, Sheikh, I am not the boss. You are the boss, Sheikh. Thank you, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum to our next caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Halima calling from Essex.
So I'm
I've
sister.
got 2 questions and they're kind of related.
All right, you can go ahead with your questions, inshallah.
Okay, the first one is I'd like to know which days you have, the first 6 days after Ramadan.
Yes.
Do you fast those ones, or do you have to, as a sister, the ones that you missed? Which ones do you fast?
All right, then which do you prioritize? All right, and what's your next
Yes.
question?
The next question is, okay, if you have missed the days during the last 10, obviously you've missed out the potential Laylatul Qadr,
Okay.
but then you get to repay it at whatever time you choose in
Yes.
the year. So you don't get the same reward because this is outside Ramadan. What's the ruling of that? So you've missed out on the Laylatul Qadr. It's not your fault.
Yes.
And I just want to know.
All right, then that's a good question. Jazakallah khair for your question, sister. Do you have any more questions?
So that's it for now.
All right, thank you for your call. For the rest of our viewers watching at home, you can also call us up to ask your questions by dialing 0203 515 0769 as our callers just did now, inshallah. Shaykh, you made me a bit shy when you said I'm the boss. Yeah, I had to get over. That took me a minute. Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. All right, so our next question is, how can a sister make the most out of the last 10 nights of Ramadan whilst she is on her menses?
Yeah, so what a sister should not do when she's on a monthly cycle is to pray. She does not pray and she does not fast. But all the doors of ibadah other than that are open for her. So like recitation of Quran, giving charity, making dhikr, making dua, being good to your parents, being good to your neighbor. All of these things, alhamdulillah, you can engage in, and I would recommend that you do that. If it is the case that you're not praying, then make sure that you are awake and then you're reciting Quran and you are, maybe you're sitting there and you're making very strong dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is, maybe the next similar substitute. Instead of you making salah, is that you sit there, you raise your hand and you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. Focusing on Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni or fa'fu anna. Oh Allah, you are the one who pardons, you love to pardon, so pardon us. Focus on that dua and make as much dua as you can. And there's many types of ibadah that you can do that don't require for you to be in a state of wudu, for example, or be in a state of purity.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Just to touch on that a bit more, Shaykh, because I think maybe we could get a bit negligent of that. There are a variety of acts of worship, which maybe some of us don't consider as acts of worship. For example, like maintaining ties of kinship, visiting your family, or at least calling them. This is seen in the sight of Allah something great, correct, Shaykh?
Indeed, yes.
And if we're doing this during Ramadan, say for example you make a list of people and you just call them to see how they are and say, I miss you, I'd like to see you soon. No. We can consider this as a lofty act of worship?
No doubt. I mean, even if your family members is to ring them, to call them, to remind them, to do good things after. Which is the next question actually, I remember. I'll answer it straight away. Laylatul Qadr starts after Salat al-Maghrib. The night starts from Salat al-Maghrib until Salat al-Fajr. Okay, so you don't have to wait till the last third. Mm-hmm. So, when it comes on these last 10 nights, ring your family members or send them messages and send them reminders about the different things that they can do. This is upholding the ties of kinship and reminding them to do good things.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. So the answer for Laylatul Qadr is it begins after Maghrib.
Inshallah.
All right then. And that's not certain. That is the night of the 27th. That could be any odd night within the last 10 days.
You said any. When you say the odd nights, then the person's going to think 21, 23, 25, 27, 29.
All right.
It depends if you count the odd days up or you count the other way, as some of the ulama have said as well. So it could be the odd from the other nights. So if it's 30 days, then the 30 would be the first of the odd nights, and then the 28th would be the second of the odd nights. The person may think, how's that? But the point is that it could be any of those last 10 nights. Okay, so if that is the case, then do something every single night, inshallah ta'ala.
All right then, thank you, Shaykh. We'll go to our next caller now. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from? Assalamu alaikum to our caller. You're live on the show. Ask Eman, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hello, brother. You're on the show. What's your question for us today?
My question for today is, the other day I was reading the Quran.
Okay.
But I can't really remember the verse. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was saying in that verse, like you will never.
Brother, you still with us?
Yeah.
Well, so you said the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was saying you will never, and continue?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was saying in that verse, you will never believe until you fully submitted. And I was thinking in my mind, if you pray in your 5 daily salah, fasting and giving charity.
Yes.
Yeah, and giving charity, does it still really mean that's not enough for your fully submission? Or what does it really mean to be fully submitted?
Good question, brother. May Allah bless you. Do you have another question for us today?
Oh, that's all I've got for today,
all right,
inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Stay tuned, brother. And after our queue of questions, we'll get to yours, inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Our next question, Shaykh, is the sister explains she goes to the masjid for Isha and Taraweeh. Then she comes back home to pray Tahajjud. Following this, she prays her Shafa' wal Witr. She's heard from someone who's told her that the Prophet ﷺ said, you must complete the salah or the prayer in the masjid with the imam, and the reward for this is getting all of your sins forgiven. She'd like to know, is she doing it the right way to take advantage of this hadith, or should she stay in the masjid to complete all of her prayers, including her witr with the imam?
طيب. So there's a few issues here. The first issue is that the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever prays with the imam until he leaves, then you will receive the reward of praying the whole night. Okay? Whoever prays with the imam until he finishes, you will receive the reward of standing the whole night. I don't know of a hadith, Allahu A'lam, maybe there is, but I never heard that praying with the imam until he finishes, that all your sins are forgiven. I don't know this, Allahu A'lam. But praying with the imam until he finishes, you get the reward of the whole night, inshallah ta'ala, standing in prayer. Now, if you pray Taraweeh with the imam, now I would, because the masajid, they change their pattern in how they pray in the last 10 nights. In that they also pray Qiyam or Tahajjud, the night prayer. In the first 20 nights of Ramadan, they pray Taraweeh and that's it. However, some masajid, what they do is they pray Taraweeh, then there's maybe in half an hour, 45-minute gap, and then they pray again. Usually, if that's the case, then when they finish Taraweeh, they won't pray Witr. They'll pray Witr after Tahajjud. Okay? So if you pray with the Imam, and if he prays Witr, you pray with him, no problem. If he doesn't pray Shafa' Witr, which is the Witr prayer, okay, and you want to do that in the masjid, you can do that. And you want to go home later, and then you want to pray some more, you can do that as well. Okay. But however, what would be ideal is that when you pray Taraweeh, if the Imam doesn't pray Witr, and you intend to pray later on, then go home, pray, and make your Witr the last prayer. That is preferable, that you make your Witr the last prayer. Wallahu a'lam.
Understood. Thank you, Shaykh. We're going to go to a question from Facebook, then we'll come back to our questions from our calls. The question is, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah reward you for your work. Ameen. My name is Ibrahim and I am from Sweden. I am chronically ill and will pay ransom. So I wonder if I can give food to an organization here in Sweden that works for youths and depends fully on sadaqah, since they get no funds from our government. They work with guiding youths and preventing crimes and drug use. Barakallahu feek.
So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for the brother. Allah yashfi wa yu'afi. May Allah cure the brother. Allow him to regain his health. Allahumma ameen. With regards to paying ransom, as the brother mentioned, then it should be given to the poor and destitute. Although what the brother mentioned, those brothers, maybe some sisters, they have some needs, but their needs are different from that what I mentioned, that what we should do when paying the ransom, and that should be given to the poor and destitute. Okay, so if these people, individuals, who don't come under that category, then you should make sure that the ransom that you're going to pay, or the fidya, should go to the poor and destitute. Now,
thank you so much, Shaykh. We have 2 minutes left until our break, and our next question is the 6 days of Ramadan. When it comes to a woman being on her menses during Ramadan, should she prioritize the 6 days of Shawwal or making up the Ramadan she's missed?
No. Okay, this comment will no doubt come quite a lot actually, because we're coming towards the end of Ramadan, and the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever fasts the month of Ramadan and then follows it up with the 6th from the month of Shawwal, it is as though they have fasted the whole month. So if a sister has some days that she didn't fast in the month of Ramadan, then her intention is to fast the 6 days of Shawwal. She should fast the days of Shawwal first, and then she will make the days of Ramadan up first, and then she would fast the days of Shawwal, and they have to be done separately. You can't, for example, as they say, kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to make the intention for both. No, you don't do that. You have to make up the days that are remaining from Ramadan, and then you do the 6 days of Shawwal. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is, if you've missed days from the last 10 days, which including within it is Laylatul Qadr, when you come to making them up, is there any way of receiving that reward? I'm on 30 seconds till the break, Shaykh, so can we leave this till
it's
after
better
the
we
break?
leave it after the break, inshallah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. For our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in so far. We're going to take a very short break, inshallah, after which we'll be back to continue taking your questions. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll be back when we are. Do pick up the phone to ask your questions. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our brothers and sisters watching at home, and welcome back to part 2 of today's Ask Eman show. We've been here for part 1, and if you've just joined us, then we're going to continue to be here up until 7:45. So continue taking your questions about Ramadan and about anything you'd like to ask regarding your life as a Muslim. So the number to reach us on is 0203 515 0769. Otherwise, you can also send your questions on WhatsApp. If you're watching along on Facebook, you can leave it in the comment section. Also, you can use our email if you'd like to take your time and type up your question a little bit more. The email is ask@emanchannel.tv. That's ask@emanchannel.tv. So, Shaykh, our next question was, if a sister has to miss some of the last 10 days, which within them Laylatul Qadr is, and due to this she misses the opportunity of Laylatul Qadr, does she have the same reward when making up her fasts later after Ramadan?
The fasts.
The Laylatul Qadr particularly.
Okay, yeah, well, we don't fast at night, you see. So,
yes.
So when the fasts are made up after Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, you get, we have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we were excused from fasting due to illness or due to something else. And you have hope in Allah Azza wa Jalla that He will reward you abundantly, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. As for Laylatul Qadr, then this has got nothing, is not attached to the fast. Of course, Laylatul Qadr, by default, it being at night time.
Yes,
and you're fasting in the daytime.
Yes.
So they're separate issues. But if a sister's not praying, as I mentioned earlier, then they should, engage in recitation of Quran, dua, dhikr, charity, many things that they can do, inshallah ta'ala, which the reward is beyond our imagination. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to engage in as many ibadat as we can on those nights. These nights.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is, the brother said he was reading the Quran the other day, the English translation. He can't remember exactly how the ayah went, but he knows generally this is what it sounded like or what it meant. He said, the ayah, paraphrased, "You will never believe until you fully submitted to Allah." His question is salah and sadaqah and such acts of worship not sufficient in fully submitting to Allah? Or, he asked it differently, what does fully submitting to Allah mean?
So I'll answer the last part first, because that'll make things clearer, from where we're starting from. So, what does it mean to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It means to submit to and obey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means to, even before that, to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the only one to be obeyed, that there was no one besides Him, that we worship Him alone, besides He has no partner, and that all the commands and prohibitions we are required to obey, and not to have anything in our heart against that, or to feel that I don't want to do this. Fully submitting in my heart and my body and my mind that this is part of my worship, and that I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as part of your submission. And knowing that everything is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nothing can happen except by Allah's permission. This all goes towards, our submission towards Allah Jalla wa ala. And then the salah is part of that, because the salah, the prayer is part of the awamir, they are part of the commands that Allah Jalla wa Jalla gave to us. And by fulfilling the 5 daily prayers, you are showing that you're submitting to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, if you stay away from the haram, like alcohol and all of these other vices and ills, you stay away from that, you're fulfilling you stay away from the prohibitions, those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to stay away from. This is all part of our submission, which if a person does that, the person is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah ta'ala.
Thank you, Shaykh. Before we move on to our next question from WhatsApp, Shaykh, I'd like to ask, now we hear that Laylatul Qadr is a very special night, it's better than 1,000 months, it's highly praised and it's highly valued. But some may hear it, Shaykh, and say, but why are we in need of 1,000 months worth of reward? Why are we in need of the great things or the value Laylatul Qadr brings? Just to help us with our understanding, Shaykh. Exactly that question. Why are we in need of Laylatul Qadr?
Because you ask yourself, what did you do? What did you do that you don't think that you need that? If you really ask yourself and be honest with yourself, what did you do that you think is enough, is sufficient? That you can sit back and say, why do I need 1,000 months of ibadah extra? Did you get something through the post? to say that you are guaranteed Jannah, or your deeds, all of them are accepted. None of us have that guarantee, none of us has that promise. We are all in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أنتم الفقراء إلى الله, that you are all poor and in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. والله هو الغني الحميد, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the all rich and the all ever praised. So this is indeed a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He allows us to gain so much reward in such a short time. If you think about the people of Nuh alayhi salam, the people who did believe in him, they lived for hundreds of years. Nuh alayhi salam, he gave his da'wah to his people for 950 years. We don't live for that long. They had an opportunity to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for hundreds of years, and we don't have that. However, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did give to us is that He gave us nights like Laylatul Qadr, that we are able to, in one of those nights, to receive at least a lifetime's worth of ibadah, which is, so generous from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful to His creation that He gives you a night which is better than 1,000 months of ibadah. So if you stand like a night in prayer, it's like you've stood in prayer for more than 83 years. More than 83 years. And there are some breakdowns of what it is, how much ibadah it is per hour or per minute. And if you work it out, if you want to put it into some form of perspective, although it is even more than that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this opportunity. It's not possible for anyone who truly loves and believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the last day that they will let the opportunity pass, because they know that they need it.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. On that note, Shaykh, could you quickly just run us through the virtues of Laylatul Qadr, just to close that reminder? So now we know the value, now we know what to do, or what are we getting out of it in return?
Sure. So we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Laylatul Qadri khayru min alfi shahr, that Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months. We know also that the Prophet ﷺ said, Man qama Laylatul Qadr imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi, that whoever stands on Laylatul Qadr with Eman, loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, submitting to His commands and prohibitions, wahtisaban, and having certainty and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in that reward, that all of their previous sins will be forgiven. So these two evidences should really push us towards seeking Laylatul Qadr, which there is so much reward, inshallah ta'ala, for us to gain.
All right then, Shaykh. Thank you so much for that reminder, Shaykh. Our next question from our callers is regarding the men's and women's rights when it comes to marriage and divorce. If you could just give us a quick little reminder on this, Shaykh, and then we can move on to the rest of our questions.
I'm not sure how. That's
it's broad.
It's very broad, and there's not. Well, anyway, okay. To start with, I would say that it is upon the husband and wife, first and foremost, before they get married, is to be aware of the act of ibadah that they're about to undertake. Okay. Find out what you're supposed to do. Are you like the man? He will support financially for his wife. He will make sure that she is sufficiently, housed and. When you put it like that, it does sound a little bit, out of times or out of touch when you said that she has to be clothed and fed, because, well, of course, but these are things that people, unfortunately, some husbands, that they fall short in.
Yes.
They don't look after their wives as they should, and the wife should not be burdened with any financial burden.
Yes.
So it is upon the husband to look after his wife and look after all the financial issues. Okay, and similarly that he treats her with kindness and compassion. So I would say that these are the kind of things that you need to, that you should do. And alhamdulillah, there are some countries actually that before you get married, you have to go through like a marriage course, which teaches you the basics of what you are supposed to do as a Muslim or a Muslimah with regards to your husband or with regards to your wife. So the male, for example, or the father or the husband, I should say, the husband leaves the home, and if they have an arrangement that the wife isn't working, okay, then she will protect his property. She will not allow anybody to come in the house without permission and things like this. So these are the rights that they have between each other. Okay, this is for marriage, and I'm literally, I'm not even touching the surface with regards to marriage. With regards to talaq or divorce, then if there's a divorce issue, then I would say that you should go to a person of knowledge, that you can explain the issue to them, to get that clarified. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is best.
Thank you, Shaykh. With that, we'll go to our next caller of the show. So, assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Natullah and I'm calling from London.
Assalamu alaikum, young sister. What's your question for us today?
I got two questions. One of my questions is, why do Muslims have to pray? And my second question was, in Ramadan, why do Muslims have to go to the mosque to pray Tarawih?
All right then. I have to ask you, do you have your parents' permission to be calling us?
Yeah.
All right then, thank you so much. And may Allah reward your parents for letting you ask your questions. If you have any more questions, then be sure to pick up the phone and call us again, inshallah. We'll be here for the next 15 minutes.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. The same goes for the rest of our viewers at home. If you have any questions and you'd like them answered, then we're with our Shaykh today, Imam Wasim Kempson. The number to call is 0203 515 0769. You'll find this coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen with more options where you can send your questions to us as well. If you're watching along on Facebook, then you can leave your question in the comment section and we can get to that as well, inshallah. So our next question, Shaykh, was from our young sister who asked, why do Muslims have to pray? And secondly, why do Muslims have to go to the masjid to pray Taraweeh during Ramadan?
Okay, so I'll answer the Taraweeh issue. Going to the masjid in the month of Ramadan to pray Taraweeh is a highly recommended sunnah. It's very good to do.
Okay.
If you don't do it in the masjid, you can pray at home. And you're not sinful, okay? But it is good to pray in the masjid and to pray with the Muslims to increase the reward, inshallah ta'ala. And it reminds us of the brotherhood that we have together as Muslims. So if you can do that, go to the masjid, you should do that. Okay, if you're not able to, then at least pray some time together at home, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, that's the second question first. The first question, which is lost,
yes,
is why do we have to pray? Well, we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us guidance. And once we as Muslims, we recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us everything, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us and gave us so many things, then we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Muslims, we love Allah. And what better way can we show our love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because it's easy for a person to say, I love Allah. A person could just mention that, okay? But what is even more emphatic and stronger way of your showing your love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you love Him by praying and offering your salah. Okay? So you prostrate on the floor and you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for so many things. So why do we pray? Because we want to show our love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, show our submission, and show how much we love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray 5 times a day. Okay, so it is a very beautiful way of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and showing our love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at the same time, when we are praying, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us so much blessings and so much reward when we pray.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is, this is from WhatsApp. The question is, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Is my divorced sister falls under my responsibility like my mother if my father has passed away? Does my divorced sister fall under my responsibility like my mother if my father passes away?
Well, it depends on the situation. Who are the family members around? There may be other male members of the family, uncles or brothers, who you should really support her. Okay. If there's absolutely nobody else, then it's an obligation upon you. But you فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You fear Allah as much as you can, and you help her as much as you can financially. If you're unable to do that, you're unable to do that. Okay. But if there are other members of the family who are, like, if you want to consider breadwinners and things like that from the male, then they would have that responsibility on them. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. So, Shaykh, you mentioned earlier when we had the question, in the sister's question was shafa' wal witr.
Yeah.
What you said that it's the same thing? Is witr different than shafa'?
Yeah,
or how do you pronounce it?
Shafa' means it means even, and witr means odd. And there are different ways of praying Salat al-Witr. They can be prayed as a 2 and a 1. Okay, so you're praying 3, but then you pray 2, you finish, and then you pray 1. So I just answered it that way because the Prophet, the sister said that she goes home and she prays her shafa and witr, that she prays her witr in this manner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just answered it like that. Or
Thank
that
you.
person,
Yeah.
if they want to pray 3 rak'at all in one go, they have that option as well.
Thank you, Shaykh. With that, we're going to go to our next caller of the show. So, assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Montaha and I'm calling from London.
Welcome to the show.
And my question is, are women allowed to wear fake nails when they are not praying?
All right, then. Do you have any more questions for us today?
No, that's okay. That's the only question I have.
All right, then. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your call. So, Shaykh, are women allowed to wear fake nails when they aren't praying?
Okay, so we all have nails, don't we? I would assume we all have nails.
Yes, we do, Shaykh.
And the purpose of putting those fake nails on, there's other words. Well, what else do they call it?
I think
fake nails?
acrylics.
Oh yeah,
acrylic nails.
okay. These nails,
These fake nails.
These fake nails. That's the best word we can think of. The fake nails, and that is that because if you're not happy with your own short nails,
yes,
you're going to put these fake nails on, which are nice and long.
Yes.
And nicely coloured. Okay. Now, if they are long and they look like claws,
yes,
then we should say that really it's not befitting of a Muslim to Muslimat to have hands that have claws. They should be avoided. Okay. It's disliked. I'm not saying it's haram, but it's disliked to have these long nails. It's disliked, and the scholars have mentioned this throughout Islamic scholarship, throughout history. To have these long nails is much disliked. And if you're going to have it for a period of long days, maybe you get what gets under the nails. Maybe it's not healthy for your nails to have them on, okay, over a long period of time. So be wary of using them, firstly. And the second reason, what is the purpose of them? If it is to have long nails and things like that, it's really, it should be avoided because it looks like claws. And
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shaykh. Our next question is from WhatsApp. The question is, Assalamu alaikum. What's the ruling on celebrating Eid on different days? Is this permissible?
Who's celebrating Eid on more than one day? I mean, Eid maybe for more than, let's say 3 days. It goes over a period of 3 days.
Yes.
Eid mushkila. But there are other countries which will have their Eid on a separate day. What we say to you is that if you happen to be fixed in one place, that is your Eid. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much.
So let's say, for example, another country has their Eid before you.
Yes.
So you're fasting another day. Okay, you can celebrate Eid with another country? No, you can't.
Okay.
Because you're still required to fast in the country that you are in. That's where it might be problematic, okay? But if everyone's agreed that Eid is finished and you want to celebrate Eid for another day, khair inshallah. May Allah bless you.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. With that, we'll go to our next caller of the show. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Hamza and I'm calling from West London.
Salam, Brother Hamza. How are you today?
I'm okay.
May Allah bless you. How's your fast going? How's Ramadan?
I'm going good, but for medical reasons, I can't fast.
Well, may Allah make it easy for you and accept from you, inshallah.
Yeah, but my question is, is there a like dua for anxiety, and lastly about qadr? I'm not too sure about it.
The dua for anxiety and for qadr.
No, for qadr, like people say, like from Allah written everything, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay, dua for Laylatul Qadr?
No, qadr, like Allah's decree. That Allah knows everything.
All right then. You understand the question, Shaykh?
I think so.
Okay. Brother Hamza, do you have any more questions for us today?
No, that's the only two.
All right then. Stay tuned. If I don't put your question forward properly, then be sure to call back to clarify for me, inshallah. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Brother Hamza. May Allah bless you. So, Shaykh, Brother Hamza would like to know the dua for anxiety and the dua for qadr.
The dua for qadr?
Yes, Shaykh. Or however you understood it.
Okay. Yeah, so the Prophet ﷺ went into the masjid on one occasion and found a companion that was sitting in the masjid, and he was down, and he was anxious, he was worried because he had debts. So the Prophet ﷺ taught him a dua in which he ﷺ said, if you make this dua and sincerely make this dua, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have the anxiety, the worry and the debt, it will be removed for you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. So the Prophet ﷺ taught him, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-huzn. That, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from al-hammi wal-huzn, which is anxiety and sadness and worried. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنَ الْجُبْنِ وَالْبُخْلِ. And I seek refuge in you from being like cowardice, or also from being stingy. وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ غَلَبَةِ الرِّجَالِ قَهْرَ الرِّجَالِ وَغَلَبَةِ الدِّيُونِ. And I also seek refuge in you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the the kind of the power and the evil of what men may do to you, forcing you, pressuring you and things like that, and also the burden of debts. The Sahabi radiallahu made this dua sincerely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah Jalla wa ala removed the anxiety, the worriedness, the worry that he had and the anxiety that he felt. Now there is, with regards to qadr, and it is a large topic, and the brother said at the moment he's not fasting. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept his ibadah, because the ibadah comes in different forms.
Yes.
But what I would say is that there is no servant that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved more than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was the most severely tested person.
Yes.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam above all. But he tested him the most severely, in that there were times when he was ill, and there were times when he had lost his family members, there were times when his people rejected him, there were times when he had to leave his home. Did the Prophet ﷺ feel at any time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had left him, had forsaken him? No. We know that the Prophet ﷺ taught us that the most severely tested people are those who are the prophets, and then those who come after them, and then those who come after them in level. So if the brother is going through a difficulty, through illness and whatnot, if the brother is being patient and is turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would say, bi'idhnillah, this is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. Even though that you may not be able to fast,
yes,
we all want to fast in the month of Ramadan. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test you. How much desire you have, maybe, to fast. So that desire is so strong in you that you say that, well, Ya Rabbi, wallahi, if I was able to fast, I would fast. Yes. And maybe earlier in my life, I was able to fast and I did. So who knows what a reward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give to you. And if you're going through an illness or some difficulty, and you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly and always saying, Allahumma shfini, Allahumma shfini, oh Allah, cure me. The cure can only come from you, please cure me. So you engage in dua more than you used to. Maybe you're in a better position you are now than you were before. Maybe you never used to make that much dua. But now that you are feeling ill, you find yourself, subhanAllah, always making dua. You always find yourself turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say this is the purpose of you being tested. The purpose of you being tested, going through this trial, is that you turn back to Allah.